G'day viewers, how are we all today? Well, time to clean this beautiful old procumbens known as Juniper. This tree came into my collection about 1 year ago and was collected originally, or purchased originally by the original owner from my father's bonsai nursery in 1982. It was about a 3-year-old cutting, ready for bonsai training. He had it that entire time since then until I got it last year. I just trained it very much upright from the beginning and concentrated quite a lot on getting some of the heavier roots, which is a bit more unusual for procumbens of the species. This tree has got very, very wild, however. It's got very, very carried away up here, so it does need a good little haircut to bring it all back in. There's a lot of branches inside, and the purpose of the pruning will be to activate all of these internal buds again so that we can bush up the tree here and make it a lot more compact so that this beautiful trunk can be a lot more powerful in relation to that. So no styling for a while. It's a matter of reclaiming this tree now. It will have a root prune as well at the same time, a repot, because it's not so bad down here, but I want to just make sure I've got the nice clean root system in accordance with that. So the heavier prune in conjunction with that will be fine for this tree because of the vigor of it. It's starting to grow beautifully all over, and the buds are all starting to actually burst right back into the inside here. So it's just simply time to get busy and pull it all back in nice and close. You can see how much this tree's been left to grow with these extensions now being very, very long through here. They don't need to be anything like this. Plus also in here, there's hundreds of branches in there, dozens and dozens and dozens. Way too many. So the task is to clean out those numbers and then look at bringing some of these pieces back a little bit shorter here, cutting off as much as that much on the right side of my thumb there to bring it all back in and get it more compact and bring it back so that the trunk, which is pretty substantial, has a little bit more power again. That's the plan. Okay, so let's look at the pruning of a juniper when it comes to cutting them. Of course, the needles are nice and small, so we have to be careful what we do. You can, of course, if you need to just take the terminal shoot out, you can just pinch that shoot out of the end of the growth. But what we don't do these days anymore, certainly it was a bad teaching practice a long time ago, was to pinch your juniper all over the end like this to stop its growth. If I do that, I've taken away all of the new shoots in that area there and actually weakened that tip. The tree will want to supply these growing buds back here long before it wants to reproduce a bud at the end here when I've removed everything that it can grow from. So it is a very dangerous practice to do that, so we avoid it at all costs. Now when pruning with scissors, of course, if I'm pruning through a branch that already has the bark on it, it's pretty simple. I can cut it anywhere because that's a branch just wooded like anything else, and I can cut it anywhere I like, no problem at all. But when it comes to pruning, when I want to do in where it's still green, as in still green along the branch itself, the bark hasn't formed yet, the bark is only up to here. So here, to try and pinch that off is going to leave some wood behind when I pinch it through the middle. So the best method is to cut through there. What I do then is use my scissors nice and closed. I use them like a pointer, and I find the point that I want to prune it to, open the scissors at that point only, and cut that end off. By doing that, I'm not cutting any other needles at all when I do it, and I'm just simply removing the little piece in the center, and no other things are left behind. Much, much easier and much better for the tree because it leaves all of those beautiful growing tips behind there, and that branch is ready to go. I'll just clean it up underneath here a little bit, and it's good to wire. So what I want to do here is just look for how long some of these ones are, and I'm just simply looking for another shoot that's back inside somewhere where I might want it to be. There's not a lot of strength to these internal buds, but they will build up, but I don't want to cut to where there's no shoots. So the fact that it's shooting out here already, I can keep these still a little bit longer for now at least, and then have another look when I come back into it after. Now all the buds on the inside here, well, they're a blessing and a curse. When my tree is developing, etc., I'm usually cleaning all these out because they're always growing from the inside crutch of the branches, etc. and I want to push the growth out onto the secondary and tertiary branches, not have it in here in amongst the clutter. However, when some of these branches get too long and they don't have much energy, those basal shoots can actually be used to replace them. So they can come in very handy at times of recovery for a tree, for instance, because here, you know, I don't have a lot of strength to some of this length here, so some of these might come in very, very handy to replace some of these branches or any other branch on a tree that you have that gets too long without any foliage back on the inside. The junipers will always shoot from the crutch of where another branch is, and sometimes just in the middle of nowhere. So you can use all that to your advantage to bring all this foliage back in nice and close and at least recover some of the tree in terms of where I want to see it growing again in the future, much more compact. Okay, so this year's all finished. It's a decent pile of foliage on the floor, but still a fair bit of foliage on the tree, which is important because I want to maintain the vigour of the tree still, because I do want to repipe. Yeah? So still a number of new shoots that we're developing already are maintained on the tree as it comes around, but really open, and some of the weaker ones left on the inside here to strengthen up. A few bigger ones taken out up the top here to give a bit more space, and I'm really happy how that's looking. It sits pretty well on its own feet at the moment. There's a feature, as I said, on this one being procumbens nana. They don't often get thick surface roots because it's a ground cover species that doesn't need to develop strong roots to hold itself up because it's laying down on the ground. Yeah. So this one, to have this good a nabari on it at this stage, is a credit to the grower. There's no doubt about it. So Brian, top shelf. I want to move it around a little bit though. I don't want to keep it exactly as it is. I'm going to put a little wedge underneath the side here, just underneath this forward right leg, so that when it does that, it rolls backwards a little bit, so it rolls on the corner. Now when you drop the corner of a pipe, as opposed to just dropping the side of the pipe, you can change the dynamic of the trunk while still maintaining some of the dynamic of the branches, yeah? So it doesn't alter it too much. So I kind of like it through there just that little bit more, just to kick it over a bit more and embrace it, and to come around a little bit more on the front, so that at least use this branch a little bit more at the back here. We can see under there. I don't want to take that off, it's going to be too high then. So pretty happy with that. We'll see how we go now at getting it repotted, and I'll change the pot too away from this mica one. I think I've got one that should suit it okay.